Welcome to NUIC Football, joined by Logan Swan. I am your host, Kyle Kampmier. Logan, we just got done with the state championships. Obviously, we had another NUIC WIVC matchup for the state title. The game lived up to the hype until kickoff, and then Lena-Winslow just took over from there. They forced Brown County into a quick 3-and-out, blocked the intended punt, take over on the 4-yard line, and punch it in just as fast for a quick 8-0 lead. And before you knew it, it was pretty much lights out and good night. Lena-Winslow was able to get up there 16-0 in the first quarter, extended that to 22-0 in the third quarter before I believe that's when Brown County was able to score, right?
I think they scored the second quarter.
They scored in the second quarter, yeah, but I think it was after they were up 28. It was 30-0, yeah. So Lena-Winslow scored 4 times before Brown County scored. I couldn't remember. And then Brown County was able to score, late in the second quarter, but then Lena-Winslow doubled up on that to take a 38-6 lead into halftime. And that was pretty much all she wrote from there, because after that, Lena-Winslow was able to score 3 more touchdowns in the second half, one of those being the reserves, as well as they got the running clock going. And then Brown County was able to score in the third quarter there. So all the scoring ended by the end of the third quarter, but at the same time, it was lights out pretty quick there.
Yeah, we all kind of thought that outcome was a possibility going into it. It kind of seemed that way with how Lena had been rolling. And that's not to say Brown County wasn't rolling either. They were, like I said, they were the second hottest team in 1A up till last week. They just ran into a buzzsaw. Everyone that even after the game, you talked to a couple different Brown County people, even after the game, they all said the same thing. It's just different when you play them. I was talking to I remember I'll use Casey's Westfield coach, for example. When we played them, he talked about one of the things that you couldn't really tell on film that you can see to a game. And he said it's the physicality and how much they hit. Liking it to this, we all know how physical Lena-Winslow is, but it's different in a game. It's tough to gauge it on film until you actually watch it in person, and it's impressive to watch.
It is. It's one of those things where you have to match the speed off the line of scrimmage before the physicality even takes place. If you cannot win the speed off the line of scrimmage, you're just going to have a hard time in general stopping Lena-Winslow. And then you add in the physicality part. Like, line-wise, the weight averages were very similar and probably slightly favored Brown County. But as far as the ability to actually move, that was all Lena-Winslow. I mean, they dominated up front, both sides of the ball. You could see that in the rushing yards. Obviously, Brown County was able to finish the day with 196 yards rushing. But when you take a look at it, I mean, your leading rusher was Trey Fullerton on the year. He did have the big touchdown run for 33 yards. Outside of that, he had 9 yards on 6 other attempts. Eli Staten had 6 attempts for 76 yards. He also scored the other touchdown late in the third quarter on a 69-yard run against the reserved defense. So outside of that one run, he had 5 carries for 14 yards.
Oh, yeah. I don't really have words for it. It was really impressive. And that's not me trying to take away from what Brown County did this year. It's their first trip to state. That they had a historic season. It's just what Lena-Winslow was able to do was just that impressive.
Well, and I'm not going to pick on anybody, but I've tried telling people, specifically 1A crowds, that Lena-Winslow and Stockton were at a different level than everything else. And of course, the comeback and the feedback all year was, yeah, well, the South has won the last 2 state titles. Well, one, you can't really count last year. Last year was a team of recruited kids out of the Metro East area who sent 16 of them to go play college football. 3 of them are at P4 schools.
And one's contributing on a top 5 team arguably a top 5 team in the country.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Yes, Lena-Winslow got absolutely curb stomped last year. No doubt about that. But how many even 3A schools, 2A schools, how many send 16 kids to play college football off of one team? None. The average kid coming off of a 1A through 3A team is 1 to 3 kids at best by a team, if that. Really, you could say 0 to 3 kids are going to go on to play college football off of a 1A through 3A school. Case in point, last year's Byron team that was great, that lost to Montini by 1, sent 1 kid to play college football. Now, granted, there's another one that's coming up that will be going to play college football, but I mean, just off of last year's graduating seniors, 1 of them went on to play college football. I don't know. It's one of those things where, yeah, you can take a look at that. I think everybody wanted to see Camp Point Central Lena-Winslow last year. I don't think, I know everybody wanted to see that matchup. It was just that Althoff couldn't win the year before, so they had to go get more kids. 10. Technically it was 13, but 10 of them were starters. And I think 7 of them had started at other schools the year prior on top of that.
Like Cardinal Ritter.
Yeah. Anyway, it is what it is. You can't go backwards. But the 2023 team that Camp Point Central had was very, very good. They were very tough. And what they had was speed. And they were able to do exactly what I said needs to be done. You have to win the speed race off the line of scrimmage. And that Camp Point Central team was very, very effective at doing that. That was able to get to places where they couldn't be. I would also have to say that was probably the weakest of the state championship caliber teams that Lena-Winslow has put up as far as an overall conglomerate.
I agree with that.
And that's not to take anything away from Camp Point Central, because they absolutely earned the win. I'm just saying, in the grand scheme of things, they relied that they had no real passing attack. They relied basically on one runner, where the more effective Lena-Winslow teams have 2 and 3 runners in their backfield, and they have a quarterback that can make some pass plays. Now, obviously, in this game, they only had to throw 1 pass, and they completed it for 7 yards. But you have 2 backs on that team that ran for 3,801 yards and 58 touchdowns on the year collectively. And that's not even the best combo that Lena-Winslow has had in a course of time. I mean, you go back to the 2019 team, Ormiston ran for over 2,000 yards that year. Bruce ran for over 1,000 yards that year. And Mari Roby had almost 800 yards that year. This year it was just Wild and Schlichting. But, it was Wild and Schlichting, and they both are well over 3,500 yards each in their career. So you got 2 backs in your backfield that have combined for over 7,000 yards in their career collectively.
And we talked about it last night, but they just complement each other. Like, their styles complement each other so well. To the point, it's kind of insane to think about just how well they complement each other, with Aiden being able to run into tackles in between the tackles so well and being so hard to tackle. And then once you finally get everyone in the box, you can just they do that long sweep because it other teams I've watched other teams run that, and it's a kind to a degree it's kind of a slow developing play, but Schlichting is so fast and Lena-Winslow is so fast off the line that it works.
Yeah. And and I honestly, I absolutely love this little NUIC WIVC rivalry. It's really a lot of fun because it's true small school conferences, probably the truest 1A conferences in the entire state, and they're absolutely pretty much dominating the North and South brackets for the last 5 to 7 years. And with that, it just creates a lot of fun. But I'd watched Camp Point Central play, and I was talking to you the night that I was watching them play, and I was like, man, this ain't the same team from 2 years ago. And it wasn't even the same team from last year. And granted, you have that fallout, but I could see chinks in the armor, so to speak, where when comparing that to a Lena-Winslow and Stockton, I knew that it wasn't at the same caliber. And then, I watched some of your guys' stuff, and I watched Brown County, and I didn't get to watch you guys play Brown County, but obviously I was following along with that game, and that game lived up to the hype it did the first time around. Probably not so much for the Brown County side, but as far as the scores and the hype going into the game, it definitely lived up to it. As far as the final score, Brown County was able to do exactly what they had to get where they needed to go, and they had to avenge 2 losses, and they avenged both of them. And, that takes a lot of guts, and it was a lot of fun following it. And
Yeah, it was.
I was very excited to see Brown County down there. I mean, their fans were awesome. I mean, they brought a ton of people, not surprising, but, it was a great crowd with great energy. And, even when they got down, they never stopped cheering, which was awesome to see too.
Yeah, it was great fan support. I know when me and Mom got up there and we parked at the parking lot you suggested, for the second year in a row, parked next to Lena-Winslow people, which was not surprised by that. But getting out, I was just like noticing like all the window paint, and I saw like 67. Like, I'm just using numbers, but like I think I saw 67 Hornets, 62, 50, 77 like on the windows. Like it was very obvious there was a lot of fan support for Brown County. And how could there be? It was their first state title appearance in school history after avenging 2 losses in the regular season, coming off of truly, my bias aside, an epic playoff run. I mean, they had 15 turnovers going into this game in the playoffs alone. That's insane.
Yeah, it was a great run, and obviously deservedly so they got there. And up here, I know there's a lot of people who are sitting here saying, well, it would have been great to have Stockton and Lena-Winslow in the state championship. And, you could biasly say, yeah, that would have been great to see too. But realistically, the argument was to get to 1 through 32 seeding, and then other people have suggested having a different style seeding process. I'd just say he's not going to change their seeding process. So the best bet would be for a 1 through 32 seeding process. But even if that were the case, they wouldn't have been they would have been on the same side of the bracket. The only downfall is I went back and looked at it again. Calhoun and Brown County would have met in the second round instead of the semifinals.
Yeah, which would have probably led, I don't know if you looked at the bottom half, probably would have led to Greenfield going to the semifinals.
Well, you had Forston and Galena on that side of the bracket too.
Were they? Were they in the bottom half?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I take back what I said. Take back what I said. I'm sorry. Don't shoot me.
I would have been very intrigued to see that play out because
that would have been a fun bracket to follow.
I mean, I was talking to somebody earlier today, and taking a look at the part of, and the person I talked to was a coach. Granted, up here, but a 1A coach up here, and he basically stated that Forston or Galena, given that they weren't put into the same bracket with Lena-Winslow and Stockton, both had legitimate shots at quarterfinal runs, because they were just that much better than the majority of the field. And, the rating system that everybody dogs me about, which it's not my rating system, people. It's not mine. Okay. I don't calculate all this stuff out. I do like math. For those that sit out there and say I'm just this crazy mathematician, I do like math. It's not my rating system, by the way, but there's a lot of validity to the rating system as well. This rating system's been around for 40 years, almost. I'm 44. Do the math. But regardless, the Forston and Galena are 8 and 9 in the final rating system. I've seen both those teams play. I've seen who they've lost to, and I don't know.
I know what I think.
1A as a whole was very down this year. That's just the reality to it. And I also felt the same way about 2A. You can go all the way back to our first discussion about 2A back in our season preview show. And we talked about, 2A looked way down to where we're going to see more parity across the board, which, even though it's down, is going to make it a very volatile class that could see a lot of surprises come out of it.
I think we did.
And it did, with the exception of Wilmington. I think if Wilmington's not there, you have a whole different ball game. And, maybe we do see Moreau Forsyth win a state title for the third time.
I know they lost to Tri-Valley, but if Tri-Valley gets there, yeah.
There was just a lot more there as a whole that would have said that anything's possible. And don't get me wrong, I'm not ragging on Wilmington either. Hell, they did a great job. They're a damn good football team. They were fast and they were physical. And all I'll say is I would have loved to see them match up with Lena-Winslow just as much as I'd love to see them match up with Byron, just as much as I'd love to see Lena-Winslow match up with Byron. The styles of play between those three teams are very similar. I don't think anybody's getting clocked in those games, and I definitely don't think anybody is going to necessarily run away from each other, because the way that they play is very, very similar in style, but they also keep attacking all day long. And that in itself, I think, would have been fun to see. Yeah, I would have been all for it. And obviously everybody's like, oh, well, we're going to see Wilmington, Lena-Winslow next year. And we are. And that too will still be very interesting. Obviously, there's a good storyline there because you got the 1A champ going up against the 2A champ, and it's week 2 and all this and that. And then you got the 1A champ going up against the Division 6 champ, which is basically the Class 2A Wisconsin, in week 1 as well. So it will be interesting to see. But outside of that, I don't know. Lena-Winslow they were just that much better. And, going back to that game against Stockton, it was one of those things where a lot of people wanted to see Stockton win because they just wanted to see a changing of the guard, so to speak. But at the same time, you could just feel that it was Lena-Winslow time. And they made it happen. They lived up to it. Aiden Wild ran for like 200 some yards against Stockton, and then he ran for 170 here. No, he didn't run for 200 against Stockton, was it? I don't know. He ran for quite a bit though. Yeah, he did. He did run for over 200 against Stockton. Just crazy though, and taking a look at his stats from this game, obviously he was 22 attempts for 170 yards and 5 touchdowns. And, when you take a look at that as well, he was our, so there's the final score of everything. So it was a 58-13 win for Lena-Winslow. And then you take a look at, the final photo as well. And he was the player of the game for Class 1A. Obviously, Lena-Winslow winning their 7th state title. You can see all the state championship years there on the screen: 2010, 13, 17, 19, 21, 22, 25. Lena-Winslow also becoming just the second team in IHSA history to make it to 6 consecutive state championship games. The other team is Addison Driscoll, who did win 8 straight in the early 2000s, 2001 to 2008 in their little run. That started with some guy by the name of Tim Rackey, who now is the head coach at NAS. But yeah, I like what Brown County has. Like you said, Logan, and I'll let you speak here. Brown County has nothing to hang their head. They have a bunch of kids that are coming. They have a lot of talent that is coming up. Like you said, going back to 2018, Camp Point Central had to get there and feel that burst before they started to learn how to build through it. And I think Brown County's in the same boat right now.
Yeah, they're going to be bad. They're going to be just as good next year. I'm just gonna. They're going to be really good again next year. Obviously, they lose Trey Fullerton, but I'll go through right now. On the offensive line, they return 4 out of 5 guys. They return Bo Little, and they return Hunter Law, and the further skill guys. So they have to replace their quarterback, one of their fullback, and one of their halfbacks. But some of those guys will be back. They use a good rotation like Brody Phelps and all them, so they have guys back before that. And then defensively, they only graduate 4 guys. Everyone else was either a sophomore or junior. I mean, they're set up for a great run for next year. Same with Camp Point. I know they lose 10 seniors, but I know they have this year I know they have a pretty good sophomore class going to be juniors. And I presume a pretty good junior class will be seniors, leading them with those juniors next year. And I know that we had 5 seniors this year. And we had like 10 juniors. I know we returned most of our team. So I think I will make the proclamation now. I don't know what teams it'll be. That is not my job to make those statements. But if I had to guess, I think you will see a WIVC and NUIC team in the 1A state championship again in 2026.
Yeah, I agree with you though. Brown County's going to be back. I'm really excited to see what they can do, what Calhoun does, and what Camp Point Central does for next year. Because obviously Camp Point Central too is losing some big pieces. And like you said, Calhoun returns quite a bit. Brown County returns quite a bit. For Lena-Winslow, they're going to return 4 linemen. Everybody else they have to replace. Defensively, they're going to return a couple linemen. They're also going to return a linebacker in Merrick Man. So they'll have like 3 to 5 guys returning on defense, 4 guys on offense. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I still feel that they're going to be, the top team in the North. Stockton, while they lose quite a bit, they also return quite a bit as well. One of their leading rushers is Carter Blair. He is only a junior, so he'll be back. Their leading receiver, Morgan Hass, will be back. They have some linemen coming back as well. So they're going to be in the mix. And I think up here, another team to watch out for is a Forreston team that returns a lot of linemen next year as well. So looking ahead, those are the three teams I'm looking at right now. And yes, I know they're all NUIC teams, but let's be honest. There wasn't much competition in the North this year, as shown by the scores. That's just the truth behind it. And we can't really compare Forreston or Galena to anybody because they got knocked out by NUIC teams right away in the first round, and they both won their non-conference games. You know, Forreston went down to Leroy and beat them by 2 touchdowns. Galena played a team out of Wisconsin and beat them by a couple of touchdowns. So there's really not a whole lot that you can compare to outside of seeing how they competed with each other and then how they both competed with EPC and then EPC competing with Farmington in the 2A playoffs. And outside of Wilmington, you know, Farmington was one of the top 5 teams in 2A this year.
Fun fact, outside the 2A game with EPC, the only teams to knock either WIVC teams or NUIC teams out
Were their
till
own.
the state finals were their own teams. I don't.
The power of the
Obviously,
conferences.
yeah. We got the Big Ten and SEC forming in 1A football. That's what it is.
It's awesome. I love it.
I love it.
And of course, next year, Logan, I'm going to be, we've already discussed this, so I'm just going to make mention of it, but we're going to be getting you to get us more information to expand more coverage into the WIVC as well on a weekly basis. So this is more of a collaborative NUIC, WIVC type podcast as well. So that will be a lot of fun. I'm very interested to see your contributions on that. Along with getting to know even more about some of these teams down there in the WIVC. I mean, obviously we've seen Carrollton, we've seen Camp Point Central in the state championships. Now we've seen Brown County. You know, it's been almost 20 years, but we've seen Triopia down there, and we're about 8 years from Triopia being a quarterfinal team on top of that. You know, and I've talked to Coach Phelps quite a bit in the past as well. From Triopia, who no longer coaches there now. He's retired, but have been able to talk with him quite a bit over the years. Obviously, West Central's been up and down. Greenfield Northwestern, obviously, we've seen quite a bit of, and I was able to watch them play live back in 2022. Actually, when I first met you.
It's a rough day for the Warriors, but it was a good day overall.
Yeah, you didn't have much to say that day, but that was a fun trip to Fleur de Lis, I'll tell you that.
What I tell you, I remember this. I said it. I remember after we lost, I said 2 things. It starts in the weight room and it starts in the off season. I think I used the words "we'll be back."
Yeah.
We've been back since then.
No, you guys are definitely getting there, and that's the great thing. But before we move on to the next class, we do have to name our NUIC Player of the Year. And, you know, for that, there's definitely a lot that goes into it. And that's going to go to this fellow right here. Aiden Wild is our NUIC Football Player of the Year. 2,196 yards, 37 touchdowns, 8.3 yards per carry, along with leading Lena-Winslow to that 13-1 record, along with their Class 1A records, 7th state championship victory. So congratulations to Aiden Wild. Congratulations to the Lena-Winslow Panthers on a great season. And that's definitely something well-deserved. I mean, he showed up big time when it mattered the most. Obviously, he'll be the first one to tell you that if it none of it happens without his teammates. That's just the way Aiden is, and likewise, that's the way it goes. Your stars don't get the stats without the teammates doing the work in front of them as well. So that's as much of a team award as it is an individual award. But at the end of the day, for what we do, we have to pick somebody, and Aiden Wild was our choice. I mean, he stood out the most when it mattered the most and contributed a ton to what Lena-Winslow was able to do. So, again, congratulations to those guys and as a whole team. And, Brown County, I was able to talk to Trent Harrelson and Jared Hoots pre-game. More so Trenton post-game via message. He was pretty locked in before the game, and honestly, I don't blame him one bit at all. I mean, he did stop by, say hi, but he was definitely really focused on what needed to happen. So I don't blame him one bit. He did come back to me and, said, hey, it was great seeing you. Sorry we didn't get to talk much, but I get it. I do. I'd probably be somewhat similar. I'm there to do a job. When you're a competitor, you know how that is. And I love to compete just as much as the next person. So, but getting to talk to Hoots was a lot of fun. Obviously, we got to meet Rick Kunkel from the Sting Squad. So that was cool. Mitch talked about it on our live pod the other night. That was a lot of fun, too. Just being able to meet a bunch of different people. And as we're getting into the Wilmington game, I remember walking down on the sidelines at the close of the 2A state championship game, and I heard somebody yell, "Run teams win in November," or "Running teams win in November." And I turned around, there's a bunch of guys looking at me. I don't know who they were. Obviously, they follow what we do. And I just turned around, I opened up my coat, and of course I got this sweatshirt on. I was like, yeah, so whoever that was, appreciate the shout out. That was a ton of fun. It was just
quite the Wilmington fan base this year.
Oh my gosh.
Some of it was it from you? Some of it was from someone else, but he added to the fun.
I get asked all the time how I deal with it. It's one of three things. One, I'm going to either engage it because I'm bored and I want to engage it. Two, I'm going to prove a point. Whether you like it or not, disagree or agree, it doesn't matter to me. I don't care. Or the third is I'm just going to start ignoring you. At the end of the day, though, I'm not going to block you. I don't want to block you because all you do is help drive numbers up. Let's be honest.
Numbers, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So, I don't care. It is what it is at the end of the day. I mean, the whole page was designed to be an open forum, basically. It's just, I've always taken the look that if I'm going to have this, I'm going to put stuff out here, I want to be interactive. I don't want to be your typical person where you just post and don't ever engage or communicate with anybody. I like the communication part of it. I think that's what makes it fun. I've always said I'm going to be true and honest with what I see. I just try to convey the message a little bit differently, but anyway, it's still a ton of fun. I love that interaction. Obviously, it's how me and you met initially. It's how I've met a lot of people throughout the state, and I'll be honest, it's about building the relationships because we all have a passion for the game, and we all have a fandemonium that we like to root for our teams, which is exactly what I want everybody to do. I understand that people have a fan base that they cheer for, and I want you to cheer for that fan base. Myself, I don't really have a team I root for. Obviously, I root for the NUIC in general, but there is I have no favorite team. I just don't. My favorite team used to obviously be my alma mater, but as days go by, you just continue to move forward. And I just like the game of football in general. And I kind of moved away from watching my alma mater play because it became just like everybody else. It was just an emotional touch to it. And I didn't want that emotional touch. I wanted it to be free. I wanted to see two teams compete at a high level, and that's what I enjoy out of it. But for the rabid fans out there, I get it, man. I do, because I've been there. I've done that. And like I said, I'm a natural competitor. I love to compete. It's just the way it is.
There's nothing better than competing, and that's what I'll say. There's nothing better.
No, there's not. So let's take a look at Class 2A when we return right after this. When it comes to concrete floors, don't settle for ordinary. Upgrade to extraordinary with Diedrich Epoxy. Whether it's your garage, basement, shop, or business, Diedrich Epoxy delivers durability, style, and a flawless finish built to last. Locally owned and trusted, they'll transform your space with professional epoxy flooring that stands up to whatever life throws at it. Take the first step today. Call Diedrich Epoxy at 815-239-1158 and bring strength and style to your floors. Are you looking to buy or sell a home in the NUIC area? Trust local expertise. Jess Schumacher with Remax Town, Lake, and Country knows the market and understands the community. Whether you're upgrading, downsizing, or buying your first home, Jess is here to make the process simple and stress-free. Put his experience to work for you today. Call Jess Schumacher with Remax Town, Lake, and Country at 608-347-3659. Your hometown realtor, helping you find home where your story begins. If you or your loved one has been injured, you need someone who will fight for you. Reese and Reese Injury Attorneys have been serving our community for over 40 years, standing up for people when they need it most. They know how to handle the insurance companies and get results, so you can focus on healing. Don't face it alone. Call Reese and Reese Injury Attorneys today at 815-968-8851 and let their experience work for you. When it comes to planning for your future, you want someone you can trust. At Prairie State Investments, Mark Pfeiffer is here to help you build a plan that fits your life, your family, and your goals. Whether it's retirement, college savings, or investing wisely for tomorrow, Mark has the knowledge and local commitment to guide you every step of the way. Don't leave your future up to chance. Call Mark Pfeiffer at Prairie State Investments today at 815-668-8131 and start investing with confidence. Need a logo, website, or standout graphic design? Check out Nick at Volkert Design, your go-to for high-impact branding and design solutions. With over 20 years of experience serving businesses across Northern Illinois and Chicagoland, Nick delivers best-in-class websites, logos, and graphics that get noticed. Whether you're a startup or an established name, Volkert Design brings your vision to life. Visit volkert.design today to see the difference top-tier design makes. Logan, we're going to talk about that 2A game right now. Wilmington obviously entered the 2A field once we saw, well, they entered the 2A conversation back in week 2 once we saw ISBE give all these adjustments in enrollment to like over 400 schools, Wilmington being one of those schools as well. And that was mainly coming off of the 2-year enrollment cycle where they were averaging out to a couple of years, right? They're averaging out like the 2 years prior to that. So they had to adjust everything to what last year's enrollments were to use for this year's 1-year enrollment cycle, which just transitioned after the December vote, after the state championship games of 2024 were played out. And with that, as soon as we saw that they were going to be within that 2A field, it kind of changed a lot of the outlook that we had. Obviously, all the way back then, we said that Wilmington being in Class 2A would definitely make them an early, heavy favorite. And by heavy, I think we overextended exemplified heavy by saying like heavy, heavy, heavy favorite. And clear as day, they showed that. Obviously, they win the state championship 42-6. It was their 5th running clock in a row. You take a look at their record. They finished 13-1. That one loss came all the way back in week 1 against Morris, who made the 4A semifinals this year before losing to Montini Catholic, and they lost that game 27-20, a game in which they did have the lead in the 4th quarter, and Morris was able to come back and capture that win. But, right then and there kind of told you what this Wilmington team could be and where they're at. And then you watched them go to Coal City, and they pounded Coal City big too. That was a 3 or 4 touchdown win for Wilmington against the Coalers. And really, that was the last formidable opponent in reality that Wilmington faced on their schedule, as the rest of their games were just absolute blowouts. And then they get into the playoffs, and it was clock. Then you thought, maybe Tri-Valley will give them a game here in the quarters. Nope, that was a clock. Well, maybe El Paso. Nope, that was a clock too. Well, no. Maroa Forsyth went in as a big underdog. They weren't a clock underdog, but obviously the fact that they beat Tri-Valley 49-7 kind of left this as a really, hey, I don't know if Maroa Forsyth can withstand what Wilmington has coming, and clearly that was the case. And hats off to Wilmington. Obviously, things got going real early with Billy Moore getting that big 43-yard touchdown run around the edge to kick things off. But that was also after he had forced a turnover as well on the defensive side of the ball. And right away, we were like, Billy Moore, player of the game, as we were talking in the press box. But, Billy Moore did finish with 105 yards on 6 attempts with that 1 touchdown run. But Ryan Kettman definitely came on late as expected. 11 attempts, 137 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And, with that, he really became our player of the game for the game, helping lead the Wildcats to a 3rd state championship in the last 5 seasons. And as you can see, it's their 4th state championship overall. They also have a runner-up back in 2003 to go along with it. And everybody's talking about how they're a 3A school, all this and that. And to be quite honest, whether you like Wilmington or you don't like Wilmington, they're a public school. They do things the right way. Coach Reentz has been there for, almost 30 years. He's got a winning record. He's 2 wins shy of 300. So it's number 10 or 9 all time on the IHSA list already. So next year, within the first 2 weeks, most likely he'll have his 300th career win, which is a milestone in itself. He's got 4 state titles under his belt, a runner-up under his belt, all at the same time. Over the last 20 years, they've dropped almost 100 kids in enrollment, and yet they continue to sustain success. So a lot like Lena-Winslow. Lena-Winslow was once in 3A back in 2002 and 03 when Wilmington was there. And, Lena-Winslow obviously has dropped all the way into the 1A class, and Wilmington has been here in 2A, as you can see. I mean, 21, 23, 25, those 3 state championships are all 2A state championships. Obviously, they got bumped up to 3A in 2024, but with that, they were the last team into the Class 2A field this year. So it goes back to what we said, Logan, and you can give me your thoughts on it as well. But, we talked about the 2A field being really not as deep or as strong as it had been in years past. We talked about, Tri-Valley and Maroa Forsyth being right here and everybody else was down here. And then we kind of threw Farmington in that mix with those two as well, based off of the run that they had. And I don't know. It's just one of those things where once we saw Wilmington get in there, it was just like this game over, right? I mean, it was kind of, we wanted to sit back and watch how dominant Wilmington could be. And, we got a front row seat to that all playoff long.
Yeah, what was it? Seuss put it out, but in their 5 playoff games, they finished with 2,145 rushing yards. I think is the exact number. That's just unreal in 5 games. But regarding the 2A field, I think both things we said were true. 2A wasn't as deep. I think you saw that with kind of some of the outcomes and where it's kind of all over the place, and you saw a lot of parity. But I also think you saw the dominance that Wilmington had, which there's no reason to think that. You clearly saw what Wilmington had in terms of just being better than everyone in the 2A field. I mean, we talked about this. Maroa came in as a 9 seed, and we felt like if there was ever a year for a 2A team in the South not named Maroa Forsyth to get there, this was seemingly the year to do it. And Maroa said no.
Yeah, I mean, Wilmington became just the 3rd team ever in IHSA history to rush for over 6,000 yards. They finished with 6,068 yards rushing on the season. They ran for 395 yards in the state championship game. They surpassed a lot of teams, obviously, on their way. We'll just start from, the 10 spot. They passed a great 2000 Carthage team, a great 95 Carthage team, the 2016 Prairie Ridge team, 1988 Carlisle, 2011 Joliet Catholic, which featured Ty Isaac on that team, 2016 Forreston, 2012 Stockton, 2015 Tri-Valley, that great 2023 Byron team. So they passed all of those guys on the list. They come up short of the 2016 Peoria team, and obviously the 2007 Joliet Catholic team has rushed for 6,609 yards. That's going to be a very tough one for anybody to follow. And while we talk about this, Eastside did just take the lead. They're up 12-7, going for an extra point right now. And that kick is good. So Eastside's up 13-7. But at the same token, excuse me, Ryan Kampmier ran for 2 touchdowns. If I remember correctly, I think he needed 3 to set the new record. So I think he tied the touchdown record for Wilmington in that state championship game. I think he needed a 3rd one to actually break it. But either way, a great career by Ryan Kampmier as well. And just a great overall game by a lot of these guys. I mean, we talked about Jack Cutter, Logan Van Dyne, and Zach Oland, the center guard and guard on that team. And they were just phenomenal as far as being able to trap block, pull block, reach block, and be able to just open up big holes. And Matt Surdich talked about it on the show. I mean, you're talking about holes so wide that anybody could have run through them before ever getting touched. It was just their offensive line was just very, very stout and very good at what they did.
Very physical is the easy way to put it. I mean, obviously, negative 30 of this came on a muff punt, but for just using this for a defensive line comparison, what they did, they held Maroa to negative 43 rushing yards. For anyone wondering, they did this on 11 attempts. That's negative 4 yards every time, but negative 3.9, negative 4 for all intents and purposes. every time Maroa tried to run the football. Now, 30 of that was on a bad punt, but you take away that, that's still negative 13 rushing yards on 10 attempts. That's unreal. That's unheard of.
Yeah. It was great. It was great.
Yeah.
You know,
There's
and obviously on the other side of the ball, you know, you had Ryan Shepard, who was setting new records for Merle Forsyth. He was 18 of 35 for 191 yards, did throw a touchdown, also threw the 5th interception of his entire career. Unfortunately, we did not get to see their best wide receiver in Zach Smith, who was already the school leader in receiving yards and touchdowns and something else. I can't remember what it is, but Coach Joseph had told me, you know, he'd broken like 3 school records, but unfortunately he was out of the game with an injury, which was unfortunate. So we didn't get it. Well, once again, you know, granted, it wasn't Shepard this time that was hurt, but, you know, you have other guys that are key contributors that are hurt going into a game to this caliber. But at the end of the day, I don't think it would have made much difference, because at the line of scrimmage, you know, Coach Joseph had said, if we get dominated up front, we're done. And that's exactly what happened. They were just absolutely obliterated up front, and Wilmington showed. And, you know, when you put up 395 yards on the ground, score 42 points in the matter of not even a full 3 quarters to get a running clock in a state championship game, that's dominant. That's just dominant. And
I mean, they rushed 3 guys. Like, just talking about the defense, they rushed 3 guys on defense the entire game for the most part. They sent 4 or 5 a couple different times, but for the most part, it was just dropping 8 and playing 3-man rushes.
yeah,
And they were getting pressures. They had, I looked at it on the stats. They had 6 quarterback hits, and they did not get, and they had 2 sacks. So they had 6 QB hits and 2 sacks. Unreal.
Yep. So there you go. There's the final score of that game. Wilmington 42, Merle Forsyth 6. You know, Merle Forsyth was able to tack on a touchdown with 8 minutes and 24 seconds left. On a Shepard pass to Polium for 57 yards. But really, it was a little too late for that. You know, Wilmington was up 35-0 at the half. 28 of those points came up in the second quarter on a Hunter Kachuk 20-yard touchdown run, a Schrager 26-yard touchdown run, a Ketman touchdown run, and then a Wilson fumble recovery in the end zone on a botched punt attempt at that. That just kept getting fumbled around, and as people were trying to go to swipe up the ball, it just kept moving into the end zone before Wilson finally fell on it for the big man touchdown. And you know, just overall domination. There's really not much more to say about that, but it's interesting to see what Wilmington will have coming back for next season.
They'll be the 2A favorite, if I had to guess.
Well, I think they'll definitely enter as the odds-on favorite for 2A next year. I mean, I know you got Kachuk back, and without going through their entire roster right now, because honestly, I can't even really read it at the moment because it's so small print. But we'll look into that later. But they definitely have a lot of key players coming back.
Turn both tight ends.
Yeah, they're gonna have guys back. And obviously Kachuk stands out the most right now as far as what they've done over the course of the season. And he's only a sophomore, going to be a junior. So that's going to be a lot of fun to see. But yeah, I agree with you. As long as they do go 2A next year, they'll be the odds-on favorite to get back again. And once again, it's going to be very interesting to see who can step up to play that style of football and be able to sustain that level of success and that speed off the ball and physicality over and over and over and over.
It's not a style a lot of teams want to play.
No. All right, we'll talk about Class 3A when we return right after this. Life comes with a lot of big decisions, from protecting your home and family to planning for the future. That's where Tyler Hoffman with Country Financial comes in. As a local agent, Tyler knows our community and is committed to helping you build a plan that's right for you. Give Tyler Hoffman a call today at 815-248-2188 or stop by his office in Durand. Tyler Hoffman with Country Financial, protecting what matters most. Thinking about buying or selling a home? Trust the team that knows this area better than anyone. Best Realty. Whether you're looking for your first home, upgrading for more space, or relocating, Best Realty is committed to making the process smooth, honest, and successful. With deep roots in our local communities and a track record of results, Best Realty isn't just in the business of homes, they're in the business of helping families take the next step. Best Realty. Local experts, real results, real people. Call today and move with confidence. Are you looking to raise funds for your program? Look no further than Leading Edge Fundraising, helping teams and programs raise more with less hassle. Whether you're gearing up for a new season or trying to hit a financial goal, Leading Edge has the tools, products, and experience to get you there. From youth clubs to varsity programs, they've helped teams across Illinois maximize profits and minimize stress. Want fundraising that actually works? Go with the local experts who know how to win off the field too. Contact Brandon at 563-514-1647. Leading Edge Fundraising, raising the standard. Reach out today and take your program to the next level. Need a fresh look? Look no further than Neff Paints, where quality meets craftsmanship. From gyms and locker rooms to living rooms and home projects, Neff Paints has you covered with top-tier products and expert service. Trusted by local pros and proud supporters of our area athletes, Neff Paints brings the durability, color, and finish that lasts. Ready to get started? Call Skylar at 815-541-7338 and take the first step toward your next transformation. Neff Paints, locally owned, community-driven, quality you can see.
Hey there, local high school football fans. This is Sean Considine, a Byron Tiger and Iowa Hawkeye alumni and now an LPL financial advisor. I'm passionate about high school football because it's the purest form of the game where communities come together, lifelong character is built, and the love for football runs deeper than the scoreboard. You can find me in my Byron office most days until I run off to football practice. I'm happy to talk about football or the markets. I'll leave that up to you. I want to wish everyone across Illinois a safe, successful, and memorable high school football season. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC.
Logan, the most interesting game that we were able to be a part of Friday night, the state championship games, was the 3A game between Byron and the Unity Rockets. Obviously, Byron came into that game as a 19-point favorite, but after seeing the effort out of Unity, I mean, obviously they came out, they struck first, and right after they got that first touchdown, I mean, Mitch Stormer said it best. He goes, "That's when you knew we could have ourselves a ball game." And Byron, for being a running attack, didn't take long to score either. I mean, Unity scored within the first minute and 16 seconds of the first quarter on a Dane Eisenmaker pass to Trey Hogard for 45 yards. And just over 4 minutes later, Cole Aiken tallied up a touchdown pass from Adam Talbert for 12 yards. Obviously, the kick failed to make it a 7-6 score in favor of Unity. But then just under 3 minutes later, Byron scored again as Dawson Criddle ran in from 21 yards out. And Adam Talbert Andrew Talbert was able to score the 2-point conversion to make it 14-7 to give Byron the lead again. And then Hogard got his second touchdown pass from Eisenmenger to tie it up with 55 seconds left in the first quarter, which then moved into the second quarter. And then Unity was able to score again from a Mason O'Neill touchdown pass from Eisenmenger to take the lead 21-14. Byron answered back with a Cole Aiken 23-yard touchdown pass. Again from Talbert. Considine scored the 2-point conversion to give Byron their first lead, 22-21. And less than a minute and a half later, Unity's back in the end zone again on a Tyler Henry 10-yard touchdown pass from Eisenmenger to regain the lead, 29-22. And then Constantine was able to rip off a 22-yard touchdown run, but then was stuffed on the 2-point try to give us a halftime score, 29-28. And that was just the beginning of the fireworks. I mean, I remember when we were talking about halftime with the score 29-28, that's when we started really diving into what are the 3A marks for records in this game. And obviously the first one we were looking at was the scoring record. Then we started to look at, okay, we're starting to see Considine's rushing yards get up there. What's the rushing record? Then we started to see Eisenmenger get up there with passing yards. So then we were looking at the passing record for yards. Then it became touchdowns. Then all of a sudden we see Trey Hogard start reaching the reception record, of which he did surpass, just to watch Tyler Henry surpass him later in the game to break the record within the same game. Just crazy going back and forth. And then Eisenmenger had 2 more records that he broke. So in total, Eisenmenger set 4 records: passing yards, passing touchdowns, passing completions, and passing attempts. I think Coach Reitz would have had to get the ice packs out to put on his arm after the game. I mean, he threw 65 passes in the game. I remember as we were sitting in the booth watching, me and Ty Olson were going back and forth as 2 baseball guys, just joking around about, the pitch count's getting up there. You need to bowl them, bring in the subs. And what a night, what a performance. That Eisenmenger had, that Tyler Henry had, Trey Hogard had, even Mason O'Neill had, Andrew Talbert had a big game. I keep calling him Adam. Geez, that's his dad. But Andrew had a big game. Obviously, Considine, huge game as expected. But, man, just crazy back and forth. What were your initial thoughts?
Well, I was glad I was right about that being the game that could be, of all the ones to break, I was glad I was right on that point. It was the one I thought would be, it was the greatest, like I said last night, it was the greatest football game I've ever watched. Because I'm looking back at this. Did you know at one point Eisenmenger threw 9 completions in a row?
No, but I mean, when you take a look at his overall pass efficiency, not surprised.
The most amount until the last drive of the game, or the ending of the game, I should say, he had not thrown more than 3 incompletions the whole game in a row. The only time he threw for more than 3 incompletions in a row was at the very end of the game when they were 1st and 3 on the Byron 3, the 2nd and 8, 3rd and 13, and then obviously the 4th and 13.
I mean, the way he was passing the ball, I'm surprised he had 23 incompletions.
It was
I've never seen any. I mean, obviously, throwing 65 passes in a game, I've never seen anybody do that ever.
No, that is up there with I hate to bring it up because it's kind of insane. That's up there with the Patrick Mahomes throwing, what was it? Was it 77 attempts in a game one time in college against Baker Mayfield?
Yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah, he threw like 77 attempts in a game. Let me make sure I get this right. Yeah. I want to get this right but yeah, that's the only thing that I can think of is that because 65 attempts in a football game is unheard of, and they ran the ball at a fairly efficient level. You know, they had 188 attempts. Sorry, he threw the ball 88 times in the football game against Baker Mayfield. Point stands. They ran the ball 26 times for 130 yards. You know, they averaged 4 yards a carry, and Eisenmenger had 14 for 72. Like, they were effective on the ground.
But it was 107 yards because they had 23 yards negative
right.
yardage too. Yeah, they did average 4.1 yards per carry. I myself wasn't too. I felt like with Crew Eckstein in the backfield that they could have ran a little bit more, but I mean, when you got Eisenmenger out there
Slinging
it, why not? You know,
never forget what gosh, forgive me, Rick Considine and who was
Ron Boyer.
Ron Boyer. They said they saw they were right. They said they saw him warming up before the game, and he had him a little worried, and they were right to be, I guess.
So the most passes ever completed in a game was 56 by Billy Vandemerks for Riverside Brickfield back in 2008. He was 56 of 79 for 476 yards. The next,
wow, he had less passing yards.
yeah. The next highest completed passing total was Kyle Hall of Vernon Hills in 2016 with 45 completions on 59 attempts for 426 yards. Those were regular season games, obviously, not state championship games.
Unreal.
Yeah. When you take a look at the state championship game, most passes completed. Did he actually pass that one? I don't think he passed that one. How many completions did he have? 42?
He had this says 42 for 65.
And the record was 43 by Tyler Hutchinson.
Wow.
Tyler Hutchinson was 43 for 87. Oh, that was in a playoff game. That was not in a title game. That was just a playoff game. So, playoff game, Tyler Hutchinson, 43 for 87 for 645 yards for Greenville against Mount Carmel back in 2013. Ironically, for a playoff game, Tyler Hutchinson also holds the most passes completed in a 4A playoff game the very next year against Bloomington Central Catholic when he was 34 for 67 for 452 yards.
Slinging it out here.
In a title game, the highest completions was Kyle Hall for Vernon Hills again against Peoria in that 2016 game. Obviously that Peoria team was awesome, right? He was 45 for 54 in that game.
Unreal.
Passing yards wise, how many yards did he have passing? 541.
Let me make sure. 545.
545. So his 545 passing yards is second all-time in title game history, all classes, behind John Rhodey for Montini against JCA in that 2011 game that also saw Ty Isaac set the all-class rushing mark in the same game with 515 yards.
Unreal.
So those two schools met up in that 2011 state championship game. Both players hold the all-class record for passing yards and rushing yards. So he's second across all classes, first in Class 3A. Ironically, this is what I found interesting. He passed Connor McCormick, who played for Williamsville in 2019, who had set the mark with 335 yards against Byron. So I found that to be interesting. The title game record for passes completed in a 3A game was Dalton Walsh from St. Joe Ogden against Stillman Valley back in 2013. He was 24 for 35 for 259 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then let's see, passing touchdowns in a title game was previously a tie at 4 touchdowns between Connor McCormick and Dennis Mandela from IC Catholic. So Mandela did it in 2022 against Williamsville, and McCormick for Williamsville against Byron in 2019, both tied with 4 touchdown passes. Eisenmenger threw for 7, which those 7 touchdowns tied the all-class record held by John Rhodey from Montini in that 2011 state championship game.
An unreal performance. It's a shame. It's a shame someone had to lose that game.
So the interesting thing too, so Tyler Henry set the Class 3A mark for most receptions in a game after passing Trey Hogard, who also had set the new mark. So the original mark was 9 receptions held by 4 guys, which I'll list those names here in a second. Hogard had 11 receptions at one point, while Henry was at 9. Hogard finished with 12. Henry finished with 16. The previous mark was held by PJ Fleck from Caneland. And yes, the same PJ Fleck who is the head coach at Minnesota. Nick Arndt from Coal City in 2004. Lucas Graves from St. Joe Ogden in 2006. Brendan Bishop from Williamsville in 2019 against Byron. And Carter Foran from Monticello in 2024 against Montini. Just unbelievable. And then receiving yards. I don't think that one got broke. No, the receiving yards stayed intact. Which the receiving yards in the state title game in Class 3A belongs to Brendan Bishop with Williamsville, also against Byron back in 2019. So when you heard that, there was a lot of comparisons between this game and the 2019 game with Williamsville. That's the reason why. I mean, there was just so many things that kind of led back to what that game was. But when you take a look at the records that were broken, like I said, that it was most points combined in a title game was set in this game. Byron actually had broken the total yards mark in the game and then later was surpassed by Unity. So Unity holds the most yards in a 3A title game. Obviously, Considine set the new rushing mark for most rushing yards in a title game in 3A. And I'm trying to remember who held that one. Oh, no, he did. He did not pass that one. Sorry. He did not pass that one. That's held by Hickey Thompson of Althoff Catholic back in 1990. So that one still. Oh, no, that was in a playoff game. He did pass it. That's right. It was Jordan Roll from IC Catholic in 2016. That was 270 yards. Constantine ran for 367, and his 367 yards is tied, or I'm sorry, not tied. It's the third most across all classes. Obviously, we just talked about the Ty Isaac game back in 2011 for Joliet Catholic when Ty Isaac ran for 515 in a loss, and then Deer Hill ran for 443 last year against Lena-Winslow.
Unreal.
Yeah. Unbelievable game. Unbelievable game for sure. And oops, that's not what I wanted to do. So I mean, with that, Byron comes away with the win 56-50. And then obviously it was hard to pick a player of the game, but when it came down to it, you got to pick one. And usually you're going to go with the winning team. Player of the game was Caden Considine, 30 attempts, 367 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Obviously, defensively, he also made the big defensive stop for the Tigers. Obviously, Andrew Talbert could have been put up in this spot as well. He had 12 rushing attempts for 48 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. He was 4 for 5 passing for 98 yards and another 2 touchdowns. But when you look at the big atmosphere of this game and the amount that they relied on their star, Caden Considine, it's no wonder why, he was player of the game, realistically.
Yeah, I mean, 367 yards is crazy. That's I don't really even I don't have the words at this point to like describe this game because like it for one it lived up to the billing that we thought it could if it became a shootout. And the ending was class. I mean, you're talking inches away from Tolono finally getting the elusive state title on that little, and it was just a simple, I think he rolled it. I think Eisenmanger rolled out. It was just a simple like little out route. This is a beautiful ball and it's just barely on the white.
Yeah, that was rough. I mean, obviously there's a lot of people looking at that call saying that his back foot touchdown before his front foot, but if you actually go through the reels, if you watch it at speed, you can see pellet dust coming up from his back foot. So his back foot does touch at some point. But when you actually see the ball in a position where it can be considered a catch, and it's before the pellets actually start to kick up, that front foot is on the white line. And it might have it may have not coincidentally, simultaneously happened with the touch of his back foot. But if you watch the front foot, the toes come down, but then it looks like his front foot may not have touched per se because of his foot angle. Like it was just the toes at first with the back toes. But then you see the heel from the front foot land while he's dragging the back foot, which gives the illusion that his back foot touched before the front foot. But you gotta slow it down enough to see that the toes on the front foot were on the white line at the point that he has the ball in a secured, catchable position, right almost simultaneously as his back toes touch. So in that instance, that is out of bounds. And Fenwick just scored with a minute 49 to go before half here to tie the game up at 13, extra point ensuing here. So a lot of pandemonium going on in the
Six-year title
Friars
game.
fan base here. But we got ourselves a barn burner here. Should be a lot of fun. But back to that game, then there's also the argument of the pass interference call. And when you take a look at that call, somebody wanted to talk about face guarding. In high school, there is no face guarding. There is no penalty. There's no rule for face guarding. So I don't have to turn my head back to look for the ball in high school football. That's an NFL rule. Now, granted, I cannot keep you from coming back to the ball. Now, part of the problem is that I believe it was Tyler Henry that was there. And I believe he was jumping, trying to reach back for the ball. I think there was simultaneously pushing against each other, basically.
Incidental contact, basically.
But I did see one screen grab from the back angle of the end zone, and the players were here, and the ball was over here. So the ball was actually, not only was it up, but it was behind as well. Outside of actually planning his foot to come back to the ball to actually draw that flag for pass interference, I think that would have been the only way that ball would have been a catchable ball. Obviously, when that play happened, I was not standing in the corner of the end zone. I was standing to the left of the goal post. So I didn't get a good angle of where the ball positioning was. From my angle, the ball was overthrown. You see Constein go up. Yes, there is contact there. But like you said, it looked more incidental contact than anything. But then when you see the frame capture from the back corner, looking back and that ball's back here, in that same instance, Henry's already kind of fading backwards with at least one, if not both feet in the air. I can't remember. So he'd already left the ground on top of that. I don't know. I think it was a good no call.
Yeah, you're talking to a guy who coaches wide receivers. Good no call. It was a good no call. It was.
It sucked for Unity because, like you said, honestly,
inches.
So when they got to the 6-yard line, I remember coming from I was right around the 10 or 12-yard line on the sideline. And I remember coming around the corner. So I was on the Byron sideline. I remember coming around the corner. And I remember looking at Greg. I said, Unity's going to win it right here. And he just kind of looked at me. I said, dude, Unity's going to win it. And obviously that's when that play happened. Then we get the two false. Well, there was a false start. Then there was an incomplete pass. Then another false start.
And I hate to. This isn't picking on kids because of what's happened, but like, it did not help that that they showed the replay a couple different times, like on the jumbotron, which I get why they did. It was a close play, but the Unity kids, like, all were watching it. I remember that. I'm like, they got to run a play here. And they didn't realize it till it was like 10 seconds left. And Eisenmanger's trying to get them like all set. There's 5 seconds. There was like 4 seconds on the play clock when they snapped the ball. And they're not set. That's the first one. The second one, the lineman jumped. But we talked about it in the press box. And I'm not saying this happened. I don't know what happened. But early in the game, you could see the Unity players like pointing to Byron, or we even pointed out that Eisenmanger said something to one of the officials, like they're simulating the snap count, trying to get us to jump. Because right away when that second one happened, the offensive lineman pointed at it and was like trying to say they're doing something to simulate the snap count. I'm not saying that happened. I don't know. I wasn't on that field. It's not my job now. I'm just to elaborate on what kind of led to the craziest in 30 seconds of an ending to a football game I think I've ever seen. To add on to that is what happened.
Right. No. Definitely the best football game of the night, and arguably one of the best games in championship game history. I mean, just two
There's no
teams,
doubt.
two different totally styles of offense going against each other. You know, I hear a lot of people saying, well, they didn't play defense. It's like, no, there was some good defense. There was just some good plays. Like, I mean, think about it.
Sometimes good offense.
I
Sometimes
think,
good offense is better than good defense.
well, just not just that. Let's be honest. Unity had a hard time up front to slowing down the Byron rushing attack. There was glimpses where they could make some stops here and there, but overall they had a hard time stopping that. Whereas Eckstein really couldn't get things going on the run, and Eisenmenger was definitely throwing the ball at a much higher rate than what I think he'd thrown at all season. But on top of that, like I said, he missed 23 passes, but he threw 42 completions. You know,
It's only 65%.
yeah.
I mean, come on.
The effectiveness and the efficiency, and then the big plays that he was getting out of Hogard and O'Neal and Henry was just phenomenal.
And I'm looking at their yards after catch right now because I'm just curious. So Henry had 160 yards on 16 receptions. 56 of that was yard after catch. Hogard 189 on 12. 82 of that was yard after catch. And then O'Neal had 6 for 130. His yard after catch was -1. So a lot of this was just, they were just making plays. Like he was just getting the ball to him.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, O'Neal didn't get any yak yards at all.
No.
So, I mean, he was literally making catches and going to the ground. So, like you said, it was good coverage. Just he was making the play
Better
and getting
offense.
hit.
Sometimes there's only so much good defense can do.
Yeah. And, you know, Sean Constantine said it best. You can plan for everything in the world, and sometimes you just got to tip your hat. And for Dane Eisenmenger, you just got to tip your hat. And, you know, obviously we heard a lot of people up in the press box asking where he was going. It was, you know, he's going to Central Missouri. And then I remember listening to Seuss's podcast. He's like, I'm trying to figure out where Central Missouri's at. And of course, you know, we made the mention of it last night on the podcast too. And you're like, Warrensburg, Missouri.
And there's only one reason I know that. There's only one reason. Because Pascal went to school there for a few years.
Oh, right.
So I played with a guy who went there. So I was like, where is this even at?
Yeah. But it is a D2 school, and at the same time, there's already a lot of people saying, man, he might be getting some late offers here. You know, think about it. The transfer portal opens up next week, I think. So you're going to have a bunch of people starting to flee, which is going to leave room open at other schools, and now they're going to be needing to look at somebody. And I can guarantee you, with Eisenmenger's size and attributes and the ability to throw the ball the way that he can, and if you look at him, he's definitely got room to put on some more mass around that body of his. Somebody could mold him into something even more yet. He's got the tangibles.
I looked that up. The transfer portal for college football opens January 2nd.
Okay, so I'm a little off, but we're a month away. It's a month away.
Yeah, we're a month away.
Not a week away, but I knew it was coming up because I just had this conversation with somebody else.
Yeah, you're gonna see some late movement. I mean, we're talking, and this isn't to kind of build on. Caden Considine clearly can go to a plethora of schools that have looked at him and offered him, obviously, the preferred walk-on at Iowa, North Dakota State, powerhouse in FCS. You mean to tell me you don't think any college coaches were just watching that game just to see and saw that?
Exactly. He definitely had people looking at him.
Yeah, and that performance just built like I
You put
told
on the
it.
best game in the biggest stage at the right time in one of the best games that we've seen in state championship history, in a game that set 10 different records. Yeah, just man.
Most amount of kickoffs in a game, 17.
I've been following Eisenmenger and Henry and Hogard all year from a distance, obviously. But to see it up close and personal was so much fun to watch. And like I said, they came in as a huge underdog. And whether they knew that or they were just playing at another level, it didn't matter because they put on an awesome display of football ability. And, between both these teams, great sportsmanship.
Yeah, the moment after the game with Considine and Eisenmenger, like two competitors who just played their heart out, one who just fell short of the ultimate goal and the other one achieving it again. To see that, I mean, that was a cool moment. And speaking of sportsmanship, we didn't talk about it, but with Wilmington and what their community and what their staff did for the Memorial Forsyth mascot, tip my hat to them with that story as well.
Absolutely. I kind of had been tipped off on that as well. I had some people from Wilmington had reached out. There was somebody in their community too that had been struck with leukemia. And so it kind of hit home for them. And when they found out about the story, they wanted to start, doing something about it. And I remember the person reaching out to me wanted to get it to me because of our platform and our ability to capture an audience. And it was great to see. Obviously, I made the post on social media, and there was a bunch of people that had liked it and followed it. And obviously Matthew, the child, the 16-year-old sophomore, his dad follows our Facebook page as well. And it's just one of those things that you don't expect to go through, right? Until it hits you, and then you're stuck in the situation. So, no, it was great to see Wilmington be able to do that. Obviously, my post out there does have the GoFundMe link to it if anybody wants to go back and touch base on that as well. You might have to scroll a few pages on the old Facebook page or on our Twitter page, but it's out there. So if anybody wants to make additional donations to help out the Clary family, we have the ability to do that. I had reached out to Coach Jostis after I was reached out by the person from Wilmington. And then obviously they went through and started making their own collection of donations that they were able to present to Michael Clary, his older brother that played for Memorial Forsyth, in that tribute that we saw there at the end of the 2A game. So yeah, hats off to Wilmington for great sportsmanship and just humanitarian work in all aspects.
That's what it's all about.
It is. So that pretty much wraps up the show. Obviously there's the only thing I got left to work on is the updating the career stats for the NUIC. Outside of that, I did take documentary scenes behind the scenes at Hancock Stadium. I did this back in 2021 at Husky Stadium at NIU. I did it again in 2022 at Memorial Stadium at Champaign. I meant to do it last year, but then the aura of the state championship games last year just left a bad taste in my mouth, so I just never revisited it. And so this year, we went back through and we're able to get more video of a behind the scenes type of look of what we go through from our view and perspective on a media level. And I think it's really cool because a lot of people don't get to experience it the way that we get to experience it. And it to me, it's really cool. But I have that documentary stuff that I need to piece together and then post and publish on YouTube. So that will definitely be coming here, hopefully by the weekend. I got a busy week coming up, but that's one of my plans is to finish that up. So it should be a lot of fun. But in the meantime, you know, for myself, it's time to start looking at basketball season and getting things back up and running at a full capacity on NUIC All Access. So you can catch me over there for the winter sports season, boys, girls, basketball, wrestling. And as far as NUIC football, obviously, this outside of a couple things that we're going to have left to do here, we're gonna take a much needed break because these last 18 weeks plus, I mean, really, you think about it. I think I started on July 23rd with Greg on View from the West for our preview show for the NUIC. So, that's probably 21 weeks, 20 weeks maybe of continuous work. So it's time for a break, much needed, well deserved. It's been a lot of fun. Year 10, we said I said that I wanted year 10 to be bigger. I feel that we've accomplished that. Obviously, there was a lot of things that we wanted to do with our live feed at the state championships, and unfortunately, it did not go well as it had when we were in Monmouth and when we were at Stockton. And the only thing we can attribute it to is the fact that we just weren't getting enough power through the Wi-Fi at the school. So we do have a partial plan in place to combat that. We have a secondary plan to also combat that for next year. So be on the lookout for those live shows coming next year for sure. Obviously, we're all looking forward to a good time for an instant reacts after state. Unfortunately, with the snowstorm coming in, we all packed up early to leave ahead of the storm so we could all be back safely. And I'm thankful that we did do that. It was definitely the smart choice, especially with, yourself traveling right around 2 hours or a little more, myself doing the same thing. Mitch obviously coming from like 4.5 hours away or 4 hours away. So, and then of course, Greg was an hour and a half, 2 hours away as well. But we gave it a good shot. I think overall what we wanted to do as far as like getting the sideline photo, or not the sideline photos, but the sideline videos, we were able to capture a lot of that, which was awesome. We were able to get a lot of pictures throughout the course of the day. Obviously, we're right on top of the play-by-play action, both on Facebook and on X. I would say overall it was a pretty successful year, and obviously we're looking to come back bigger next year yet. And I know Mitch has some more ideas that we'll start to take a look at and feel what that is going to look like as well. Another thing I'd like to do is upgrade our microphone system as well. That will make things even better, especially for our live playoff show. which should be a lot more fun as well. So, there's so many things that we're looking forward to that we wanted to do this year and felt like we did a great job at doing, but that we can do even more going into next year. So, needless to say, we're never going to stop moving forward. The collaboration with you, getting to a higher level to bring more WIVC coverage into the mix, is going to be awesome. Obviously, our collaboration with Greg and Mitch has been great for our podcasts. And then, for our state rankings, we're looking at adding 4 more people to our panel next year. Everybody says that it's all northern people, and obviously I'm the furthest north. 2 people live a little bit south of me. Obviously, we got Greg and Mitch on the panel. You're on the panel. Matt Surdich is on the panel. Ty Taylor's on the panel. So, we kind of really spread out, but we're looking to add a couple more people that are central, mid. So we're definitely going to expand out as far as that's concerned. So it should be a lot of fun. Really looking forward to that. And outside of rambling, that's pretty much it, man. What you got?
Yeah. It was this is fun. In my wildest dreams, I did not expect that this is how I would have spent my football season on top of what I already do. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm excited to expand the coverage. I'm excited to keep it going. For me, this is break time until basically at the end of the school semester. In the spring, I start my student teaching, and then I'll be coaching baseball during that in the spring. So I got a little bit of a break before I get back to this. I got a little bit of a break that I can enjoy, as I've said, and I've made the point every year since I've started helping out. My break has seemingly gotten shorter, and that is a good thing.
Oh yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. And I gotta think. There's a lot of people to thank. Obviously, I need to thank Carrie first and foremost, because without her support, none of this is really possible for myself. So I having her here, she does a lot behind the scenes that nobody sees. She allows me the ability to go to the games, while behind the scenes, she's also watching games, and then on top of that, helping to keep up live score updates, things like that. Obviously, we have a great group of people out there that help us provide the scores. There's so many, I can't even name them all. You for coming on the show, for helping us out. Joe Murdian and Jay Doyle also helping us out on the 8-man side. That's been a lot of fun. It's really improved what our show is and what we do on a weekly basis. So I've really enjoyed that collaboration, and that will continue in the next year as well. Obviously, Greg and Mitch for all of their help and collaboration. Matt Surdich for his input. Greg Pruis, Ty Taylor, and then here later in the year, adding Zachary Shimon to what we've been going on and doing has been a ton of fun as well. So if anybody is interested in being a sponsor, just reach out. We'd be happy to bring you on board. We got different tier levels. We even have a bonus tier level that allows you to be a sponsor of both NUIC football and NUIC All Access. And all sponsorships are good for 1 year. So overall, I think it's a great opportunity to help us bring a better production forward. And at the same time, in return, we help you by getting your name out there in as many ways possible. And, we're trying to elevate that to an even higher level yet. So thank you all for all of your time, all of your commitment. And then, to you, the fans and the listeners, thank you for always tuning in and listening to us, because without you, this is nothing anyway. And, it takes all of us to make this great. And it's always a lot of fun. And, this is year 10 wrapping up, but year 11's coming right around the corner. It'll be here faster than you know it. I think I sent out a a countdown to somebody 2 days ago. It was like 272 days to kickoff, and now we're down to 270 days. So should be a lot of fun. Definitely looking forward to it. We'll see you in 2026. Until then, always root for the NUIC.